up, guys? It's Rolly back with another review for the show The Last of Us here on HBO Max. And what a phenomenal episode. We get introduced to two new characters in this episode, played by two brilliant actors. Oh my God, they sold and they make you love these characters by the end of the episode, which is kind of remarkable given that it's only about 50 minutes to an hour of an episode. But by the end of it, you're completely sold on these characters. Now, they're existing characters from the game, but they're new to the series. We get introduced to two brothers, Sam and Henry. Henry's the older brother, and he's the one that Kathleen's group is after, that they're searching for from the last episode. He's played by Lamar Johnson, and Lamar Johnson just takes you through a roller coaster of emotions in this episode. I mean, you start out and you see he's caring for his little brother Sam, played by another phenomenal actor, Kayvon Woodard. This kid is just phenomenal, and he doesn't say a word the whole episode. He's a deaf character in the show. In the game, he was a little older and he could talk, and he could also hear. But in this series, like they went ahead and made him, deaf. So he does a lot of like sign language, facial expressions, and I mean, who would think? By the end of this episode, you're like, this kid should be in more stuff. Why haven't I seen this kid? But apparently, this is his first acting role ever. So I expect to see more from him, but phenomenal actor. But this week we pick up where we kind of left off last week. You have Kathleen's group. They're out looking for Henry, and they're just slaughtering people in the streets. I mean, they're going crazy, stabbing people with machetes and, shooting people with bow and arrow. And it's just vicious. You just look at this group and you're like, man, I would hate to be there, right? But that's when we get introduced to Henry and Sam, and they're communicating. They're trying to get back to their safe house. And when they finally do, you see that the doctor from last week's episode, that was Kathleen's doctor, he's there at their safe house, and he's bringing them like supplies and medicine and all of that stuff. Henry at that point tells him, I have to get out of the city. It's really violent out there. They're really gunning for me, and it's not safe for us no more. And at that point, the doctor's like, so what's your plan? And he's just like, well, I mean, we're going to go through the tunnels. And the doctor's like, are you crazy? There's like, and there was known to be infected down there. I mean, that's basically a death sentence. You might as well just stay here. And, Henry's just panicked. He's just like, from what he just saw out there where we got introduced to them in the episode, he's just scared out of his mind, and he just wants to get his brother and him to safety. So, at that point, the doctor's like, all right, well, let me at least get you some more supplies so that for when you go on your journey, you guys will have enough food to hold you, maybe around 11 days worth of supplies. And, so he's like, okay, fine, and the doctor even tells him like, chill out, try and go console your brother. Kids observe everything, and he probably sees that you're super freaked out like you are. So, Henry goes over there, and that's when you see the first sign of, the great brother that Henry is to Sam. And, just trying to comfort him, tell him that everything's all right. There's nothing to worry about. The doctor's going to be back in a few days with some medicine and some food, and to, just sit tight, draw some paintings. And he has him do like art around their little house, which is a cute little touch. You got to do something to keep the kids entertained, and that's what he does. And he also keeps him calm while deep inside, he's freaking out. And he's like, man, we're over here in hiding. I don't really know much about combat, and what the hell, I got to keep this kid safe. I can only imagine. But you get that loving relationship. But now it's been 10 days, and they're running out of food. I think they got like one can of beans left, and it's getting scarce. So at that point, Henry kind of tells Sam, he's like, hey, we got to get a move on. I don't think this doctor's coming back, and it's likely because they found out that he was helping us, and he's probably dead. So, they have a cute little bonding moment there, where they kind of console one another, because they both feel bad, in a way. Henry feels bad, like, man, that happened because of us, because he was doing the right thing, keeping us, safe. And And then, Sam is just a little kid. I mean, imagine having to tell a kid that, this guy that's been so nice and given them so much is now dead. So it was a cute moment. They had a little moment there where they, just hug each other and console one another in this tough time. So they start making their way out of their little safe house. And it's at that moment when they hear like a big, or Henry hears like a big disturbance outside, a crash. And we jump right into where last week's episode was, where Joel was fighting off Kathleen's men and taking them out one by one. And Henry's looking like, what the hell? Who is this guy? Like, I need to get this guy, thinking like the wheels start turning. I got to get this guy on my side. I don't know what to do next. So this guy looks like he means business and somebody that you want to have on your side. And you just see the gears spinning in his head, like, thinking about something. At that point, we cut back to Kathleen. We catch up with her. She's basically interrogating people. And you kind of get to see why people are scared of her. I guess everybody else knows Henry. They know he's a good guy. They weren't really talking about him or what he was planning on doing, when they were being interrogated. But, then when she threatened to kill them, everybody was like, oh, man, I mean, I guess they've seen her do it before. And I guess they know that she means business. And so finally somebody spoke up and basically said, look, the doctor said that he was going to get Henry and Sam some of these supplies, and then they were going to head out, through a residential area going through the tunnels. So now at this point, Kathleen knows the deal. And you're like, well, they're probably going to run into Kathleen at some point. But then we cut to the very end of last week's episode where you see, Joel and Ellie, they're sleeping. But now Ellie's waking up Joel because they're being held at gunpoint, by Sam and Henry. And at that point, Sam is just like, no, Henry is basically like, look, I don't want to hurt you guys. It seems like you guys need help just as much as we do. I have a plan to get out of the city, and I want to trust you guys. And he's like, this is the furthest I've ever been violent with anybody. I've never killed nobody. I've never done anything crazy to anybody. So, I just need you to trust me. And, being that they're at gunpoint, and then also, Ellie's kind of like looking at Joel, like, don't try nothing stupid. We're at gunpoint here, and he's gaining a little bit of a soft spot for her. So, he goes along with it, and they kind of start getting to know each other over dinner. I think they were eating like beef jerky or something. And, they're just getting to know a little bit of their backstory, introducing themselves, getting acquainted. And then we cut to the next day. Joel is like, so what's the plan? What's your big plan here to get us out of the city? And, it's at that point or first he asks Henry, what's the reason Kathleen's men are so aggressively after you? Like, what's the deal with that? What did you do to them? And he lies and basically says, I forgot what he says actually, but he gives them some kind of story, stating that they think that he's the reason that Kathleen's brother died, but he's not. They're mistaken, and they're wrongfully after him or whatever. And Joel kind of just, I guess, buys it, because this guy seems to be pretty transparent and honest thus far, and holding his word to things. So, he goes on and he tells Joel, basically, when Kathleen's men took over in this area, they cleared out all the infected and sent them like underground through these tunnels. But then, so that they could have some type of, I guess, path or whatever in the future for any type of reason, they moved these infected somewhere else, also underground. And now the tunnels are supposedly clear. He hasn't been through the tunnels, so he doesn't know this for sure. But that's the last information that he had about the tunnels. And then that's the main way out of this area. So, at that point, Joel's like, what other option do we have? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got to get out of here. These people are ruthless, I guess this is our best bet. And he agrees to help them with the plan. And they head out, they go through the tunnels. Everything seems pretty smooth, and then somewhere down there they get to where it looks like it was like a living quarters for people. You know, it looked like there was like a settlement down there with a bunch of people, and they even had like classrooms and sleeping quarters, and it looked like a legitimate settlement, you know. But obviously, just like anything else in this world, probably got overtaken by either infected or by Kathleen's people when they went down there to clear the infected, probably cleared the people too, or recruited the people. Who knows? There's just a varying outcome on what could have what could have happened. But they get down there, and it's at that moment, you know, you see Ellie and Sam, they're, you know, getting pretty comfortable with each other and doing kid stuff, coloring, reading comics, playing soccer, whatever. And Henry's just like so happy, you know, he sees his little brother finally, you know, not the somber little kid that he's known up until this point because of the horrific things they've seen or endured. And, you know, it's finally nice to see him with some happiness. So, you know, at that point, you know, he sees Joel asks him, so, you know, what really happened? You know, that story you gave me up there kind of didn't make sense, you know. Did you do something to save your little brother? Or like, you know, what's the deal with that? And at that point, you know, Henry comes clean and he's like, look, you know, when I told you they mistakenly think that I killed someone, he's like, you know, I technically didn't kill someone, but it's because of me, someone's dead. And it's at that moment when he reveals that Sam had leukemia. He needed some medicine, or there was a medicine that Sam was taking that finally worked for him. And at that point, in order to continue getting that medicine, or continue getting that medicine, he gave up Kathleen's brother, his location, and in turn, Fedra went and they got him and beat him to death. You know, so it's because of his action, the information that he gave, that her brother's dead, and then that's why she's after him. So at that point, you know, you see Joe analyzing the story, and I mean, like any other parent, he's like, I mean, I get why they're after you, but I think anybody would have done the same thing at that moment. He doesn't say that, but you could tell by the look in his face that that's what he's thinking. And Henry picks up on it, and he's like, you know, just by your reaction, you know, I could tell, you know, you may not be her father, Ellie's father, but you were somebody's at some point, and you understand my actions. And at that point, they continue on. You know, they successfully make it through the tunnels. They get to a residential area, and you're like, wow, you know, the coast is clear. It panned out just the way Henry said. And he even says as much jokingly, you know, he's like, I told you, you know, and you're just like, oh man, this is too good to be true. Everything's just going so smooth. And right when you're thinking that, you know, which is just great storytelling, it could also be coincidental for, you know, how you view it, whatever. But you know, a sniper starts shooting at them, you know, and they hide behind a car. And this scene is straight out of the game. You know, the tunnels part as well, you know, that little settlement area, that was in the game. You did have to fight infected down there. So I was surprised that they didn't have at least a few infected down there, you know, to build some suspense. But I guess it's better that they took that time to tell the full story of Henry and Sam, and you know, why they're on the run. But going back, you know, we're in the residential neighborhood. Joel gets around, you know, this blockade of cars, and he gets to the house where the sniper is. It's some old frail man, and he's just there, you know, he's busted, and Joel is like pleading with him, like he's like, look, you know, it doesn't need to go the way you think it needs to. Just lay down the gun, give us an hour to cross that bridge, and you know, and then that's it. You get to live, you know, nothing needs to happen here. But old man is stubborn, like most old people are, you know, no offense, old people, but you know, like most old people are. And you know, he swings that rifle around like he's about to use it, and then Joel has to take him out. And then at that point, you hear like a walkie-talkie on the floor there. It's Kathleen on the line. She's like, look, we're getting close, you know, just keep them there wherever you have them, blah blah blah. So he was obviously, you know, letting them know, hey, look, I got them, I'm shooting at them, get over here. So they're on their way, and Joel is, just shouts out the window. He's like, guys, we gotta go. They're on their way. And it's at that moment when Kathleen's crew comes and they just pummel that whole blockade of cars in that residential neighborhood down. They got those big bulldozer trucks, and they're just shooting out the window and all that stuff. And so, the three that were left over there, Ellie, Sam, and Henry, they start running to the house, trying to get to Joel. And he's trying to, buy them some time, sniping, what he can. Takes out a driver. One of the Kathleen's drivers, that he takes out goes into a house. Big explosion, happens. And then, but then it seems like, the road ran out, right? You got Kathleen, she kind of catches up to Ellie, Henry, and Sam. Henry's kind of pleading with her, like, hey, look, at least let the kids go. If you want me, take me, and all this stuff. And she's like, nope, everybody's gonna go here. There's no mercy, basically. It's because of you, my brother's dead, and his blood is on your hands, basically. And she's talking psychotic too, because he's pleading for the kids, and she's like, look, kids die all day, I don't give a shit. And she's just, she's ready to kill him, right? So he comes out, one final attempt. Maybe if I show her face to face, maybe I could talk her out of it or convince her, whatnot. And she's just not with it. She's ready to take him out and just end it. And then at that moment, that truck that Joel took out with the driver that crashed into the house, that truck starts sinking into the ground, coincidentally, which was kind of stupid. Like, I know they did it for dramatic effect or whatever, but it was kind of silly, like it just collapses into the ground. I guess the ground was fragile or something from the explosion, I guess, is the best explanation that you could come up with. But that truck starts sinking on the ground, and these zombies, or these infected, I don't know if you want to call them zombies, because technically they're just infected. If there's a vaccine, they could be cured or whatnot, whatever. But these infected, they just start coming out like those zombies in World War Z, that Brad Pitt movie, and they're just coming out like 100 miles a minute. It's crazy. And they start attacking Kathleen's men, taking them out, just attacking everybody. And Joel is just shooting a mixture of the infected and a mixture of Kathleen's men, and he's trying to help out. So is Ellie. You see her, running through there with her knife, and she's just stabbing them just like in the game. And she finally, breaks away, gets in a car, but this little infected girl follows her into the car, and she almost gets, bit there, which I don't think it would be. It was suspenseful, and it was kind of cool how that little girl was doing flips in the car and whatnot, but I don't think anything would have happened to Ellie. I mean, she seemed, she's already infected, and she seems to be immune to it. So I think it was fine. But she gets out of the car, the infected girl stays in there, and that's when Ellie notices that Sam and Henry are trapped under a car, and they're just surrounded. And also there's a few bloaters from the game walking around, and these things are, big, fat. They throw spores at people, and they even ripped off one of Kathleen's men. They ripped off his head from his body. It was pretty intense. So you see a few of them around that car, or getting close to that car, and Ellie just makes a decision. This is what makes her such a badass. I mean, she's not scared. And she's all about helping the people that she's with. So she charges, she's taking out some infected. She gets to them and helps them get out of under there, to make a clear path or whatever. And it looks like they get away miraculously. They work together, they get out of that. And then Kathleen shows up right behind them. She has them at gunpoint, and she's just like, end of the road for you guys, and da 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 da. And that little girl, there's another coincidental thing, but that little girl gets out of the truck that she was in with Ellie, and she just basically charges, gets on Kathleen's head and takes her out. And I liked that because, Kathleen, she was an a-hole to begin with. I mean, she was there not caring about the lives of children, just because she wanted her vengeance. And also, I just didn't buy her as a leader of a group like that. I kind of saw at the beginning of the episode where I guess she's done stuff like that before. and they were even talking about it at the end of the show. The creators, they were saying something to the effect that, the beautiful thing about her was that she seemed like, your residential soccer mom or something like that, someone that that you wouldn't expect to be a leader like that, have this world turn them into that. But I still didn't buy it. I mean, she's a great actress. I've seen her in many other things, that I like. And, I'm not going to say she's a bad actress. I just don't think that she was made for that role. But nevertheless, she was taken out. I was happy. We don't have to see that no more. And that was a good thing, I guess, for the show, for the episode. And then we cut to a motel. You see Joel, Ellie, they all made it to the motel. Joel and Henry are talking, and at that moment you see, Henry, Joel has, accepted Henry now. He's even told him, hey, I know you probably don't want to, but if you do, we are headed to Wyoming, and probably gonna walk over there. It's not gonna be a easy walk in the park, but that's how we're gonna probably get over there. And he's like, you're more than welcome, come through. And it's at that moment where you're seeing Joel is starting to uh become a form of his old self. Before this infection, before he lost his daughter, he was kind of a caring guy. Even at the very first episode when his brother gets locked up, he's just like, I gotta go help him, so he's getting back to that, which was with great character building, and I love that. And Henry agrees. He's like, oh yeah, I bet you in his mind he's like, thank God, like, what was I gonna do? I don't even know how Henry and Sam made it this far, to be honest, because the Henry in the show way different from Henry in the game. Henry in the game, he at least, it looked like he was battle tested, and he took out infected left and right, and that's how he was able to keep his little brother safe. But in this game, I mean, in this show, they almost made Henry seem kind of like a passive, oh, I'm not with violence, I just kind of survive, and so yeah, of course he was gonna say yeah to that. So then we flip back to Joel and no, to Ellie and Sam, and they're just doing like reading a comic book that they've been reading, and the same one from the game, by the way, which is pretty cool. But they're just enjoying kid time, and you could kind of tell Sam something's bothering him, but they're still interacting, whatnot. And then it's at that moment when Sam and Ellie start writing on like a Etch-a-Sketch, and they start communicating that way, writing little messages to each other on a board. And Sam, just like I suspected, I played the game several times, so I kind of knew this was coming. But he tells Sam, are you still the same person if you become one of the infected, or one of the or a monster? And she puts two and two together, and he's like, well, now you kind of know. Shows her the bite on his leg, and they're just having like a sad moment. And you could tell he's scared, and she could tell he's scared. And at that moment, she's like, look, you don't need to worry. They say my blood is medicine. And it's just such like a beautiful thing that children do. They're so innocent, and they kind of don't fully understand what we mean by certain things. But to Ellie, it meant like, maybe if I cut myself, put some of my blood on his infected area, maybe it'll cure him or prevent him from turning. And so she does that, and she kind of comforts him. And he even asks her, like, can you stay up with me? He's scared. And she says yes, but I mean, they've been fighting zombies all day, so she was tired. She falls asleep, and she wakes up the next morning, and she goes to check on him, and he just charges at her. He's infected, he's turned, and it's just sad. You're like, damn, man, poor kid. But he kind of wrestles her out to the living room area of the motel room. Joel gets up. Henry gets up real quick, and Joel's about to charge at Sam, like, or take him out, do something. And Henry's like, no, like, he even like shoots to the ground where Joel is, like, don't you even think about it, man, and all that stuff. And then he just like trying to think, like, what do I do? What do I do next? But he sees, this kid is gone, and and Henry shoots Sam, you know, and it was like the saddest moment on TV since, I want to say, the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like, I was bawling on the couch. I was not like, you know, it was a tearjerker. No, I was Kim K, ugly cry face crying.
It's okay. It's not okay, though. It's not.
You know, because I was just like, I can't even imagine that. I have two younger siblings, and just putting myself in Henry's shoes, I mean, that's what brought me to tears, you know, and at that moment, I mean, you could see the confusion and the conflict in his eyes, and he's just distraught, and he's just like even asking, like, what do I do? What did I do? What did I do? And even Joel is kind of like, look, give me the gun, don't do nothing crazy, you know, you did what you had to do, kind of thing. And he just turns the gun on himself and kills himself, you know. And it was devastating, because it's just like, you understood his point of view. How can you live with yourself after doing that to somebody that you love so dearly? You know, and then what is your purpose after that? You're going to live with that for the rest of your life in misery. And it was just a tragic ending to this great episode, and to these two great characters. You know, I mean, again, the actors, they did phenomenally. They sold you on that brotherly love, and and then at the very end, you know, and Sam, he sold you on the fear that he had of turning. And then at the very end, Henry, you know, sells you on that conflict, and just like, what did I do? You know, what have I done here? You know, so devastating. And then it cuts to Joel and Ellie, and they're just, you know, burying their bodies. And, you know, one final gut punch, Ellie leaves him a little note on that little etch and sketch board, you know, saying, I'm sorry. You know, now she has to live with, okay, you know, I fell asleep when he asked me to stay up with him, and then, you know, my blood is not the cure, you know. So she feels kind of hopeless and guilty in a way, you know, about what occurred. So and then credits roll, and, you know, I'm still there with a box of tissues. Phenomenal episode. The actors, they sold it. It's sad to see them go. They were such great characters, but just this show continues to get better and better and better. I mean, thus far it's been good, but this made it great, you know. And now if it continues this way, and even going into the next season, you know, continues with this type of storytelling, it's just gonna be a big thing for a long time to come, at least for the 2 seasons, you know, like the video game, season 1, season 2. But I loved it. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Please comment down below, share this to all your friends that love Last of Us, or, you know, any type of geeky stuff. I mean, I'm going to be doing, you know, Star Wars, Mandalorian reactions or reviews. I'll be doing like some trailer reactions for, you know, movie trailers. And, you know, I'd like to just see what you guys are into, or what you want me to react to, or what you want me to review. But I'm loving the show. I'm curious to see what you guys think. And yeah, please share with your friends, like, comment, subscribe. And until next week, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And thank you so much for spending the time with me today. Until next week, guys. Bye.